Welcome to the High Republic. What do we call this? What do we call this?
Please tell me you're rolling. Please
yeah,
tell me
I'm
you're
gonna add
rolling.
this at the end. 100%.
Thank God.
Yeah. What are we calling this?
High Council Court.
Thank you. Welcome to the High Council Court, a new series where Jimmy and I dive into a very hot topic in the Star Wars community and debate and decide who is right. For those who don't know, there is a very hot topic right now. The age-old question, deepfake versus recast. That's right, Solo was discussed today in a Vanity Fair article, and it raised a whole lot of conversation in the community about what is the best path forward for Disney. Is it doing deepfakes like we've seen in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, or is it recasting like we saw in the 2018 film Solo? Now, today I am going to take Team Deepfake and present the case to you why deepfake is the way. And Jimmy, of course, is going to take the side of recasting. This is going to be a riveting discussion. I hope you all stay tuned in till the very end, because after our initial arguments, we will have a recess where we discuss our points in more detail. Now, let me begin here, laying the scene of the legacy of Star Wars. From the very beginning, George Lucas has been about innovation. Mocked during the prequel era for his heavy use of CGI, blue screens, green screens, there's too much CGI, but George knew to push cinema forward, you have to take risks, you have to learn, and you have to try things that actors might not be comfortable with. You'll hear Ewan McGregor talk about how it was hard to act in front of a blue screen. Well, look at us today. Look how far the technology has come because of our pioneer, George. So in the spirit of the creator, Lucasfilm has begun to embrace deepfake technology. Now, what we've seen in The Mandalorian Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett has allowed our childhood hero to be recreated. And not only that, it has the soul of Mark Hamill behind it, because he's there on set. He's acting through the motions. He's there with his stunt double, teaching him the mannerisms of Luke, teaching him what Luke would think, how he would posture and ponder in certain moments. And they simply add a digital filter over that to allow Mark to look age appropriate. This has given Mark Hamill a chance to see his character presented in ways he's only dreamed about, but now can finally see realized. I want to pose this question to the jury, to Jimmy. Back in 2018 when Solo came out, there was a lot of fans who said you cannot recast Harrison Ford. He is Han Solo. There's no way to update this. And expectedly, some fans skipped out on Solo and never accepted this new actor, who, I admit, his performance was very well done. But when Luke came in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, it was truly a cultural defining moment. All sides of the fandom put down their arms and embraced our childhood hero returned. Mark Hamill was in tears, fans were in tears, we all were having a real great fan bonding moment, and that was only possible because of deepfake technology. So I ask all of you today, do we allow Disney to continue moving forward and creating those special moments? I say yes. Let these actors see their characters done in ways that were never possible. Mark can no longer embody the action of Luke Skywalker, but Luke Skywalker can still exist today. And that, I think, is worth continuing on this new frontier. I rest my case.
To the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and to those of you watching at home, my opponent here, Josh, wants you to believe that deepfake technology is the future of Star Wars, and something that we will see for many years to come. I ask you to think critically about this situation and decide for yourselves if this is truly what we want. The main argument hinges on Solo: A Star Wars Story, talking about how this movie supposedly failed because we recasted Harrison Ford and instead used Alden Ehrenreich. Not only that, but we also managed to recast Billy D. Williams by choosing Donald Glover to play Lando Calrissian. These were not the reasons this movie failed. This movie came off the heels of a very controversial film that a lot of you know as The Last Jedi. And unfortunately, this movie decided to come out 6 months after, instead of a whole year like the rest of them. This was the reason for this movie to fail. This is not the reason to stop recasting. This is not a reason for deepfake. The only reason the deepfake technology is so lovable now is because of Luke's betrayal in The Last Jedi. Many fans weren't happy with it. So seeing their childhood hero brought back to life using deepfake technology for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett is the reason they're clinging to it so much. But I do recall another time in Star Wars history where deepfake technology was used and everyone was not happy about it. A lot of people were iffy on it, and some were even haunted by what they saw. I'm referring to one of the best films that we've seen from the Star Wars universe being Rogue One, and while it is an amazing film, we can agree that the use of deepfake technology to completely reintroduce the late Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin was something that no one was expecting, as well as the very end of the film seeing a deepfake version of the young Princess Leia. Now, at the time when this movie came out, a lot of people were questioning whether deepfake technology was good or not. I will admit that it is a fascinating and powerful technology, but in the wrong hands can do a lot of harm. So why should we focus on deepfake technology? Why should we use deepfake when we have young, springing actors wanting these roles? Why should they not get the chance? Why should we just be casting stunt doubles and mapping a face on top of them? Alden Ehrenreich and Donald Glover were given a chance, and I think they did a fantastic job. Sure, Alden Ehrenreich isn't Harrison Ford, but why does he have to be? Why can't he just bring new life into these characters? Why can't they all? Or are we just going to sit there, let anybody be Luke Skywalker, and just map his face on top of it? I rest my case.
All right, welcome to Court Recess, where we can hang our hair down, we can be loose. We're going to talk about the arguments, and of course, you guys know Jimmy and I. We definitely see a lot of validity to both arguments, and in the case of our earlier segment, we wanted to kind of present what we thought were the best arguments for each side before coming together and talking some real pros and cons. So Jimmy, I want to start with paying you a compliment. You brought something up there in our live case, even before to me personally offline, where you talked about how these young actors that have been recast bring new life to the characters and how using deepfake denies that, right? How seeing a new actor play Han Solo and play Lando allowed them to feel different, feel younger, and provided a whole new perspective for them. And I have to agree, that was an amazing part of Solo. You and I are both big Solo fans, and we are both on team make Solo 2 happen, of course.
Oh, yes.
So I fully agree with you that they are not the reason the movie failed. There were a number of circumstances. Let me pose this question to you, though, Jimmy, because I thought about this a lot today. I know in just the circles people around me, I've heard this a lot, that there is such a legacy that specifically Harrison Ford has that recasting him seemed almost impossible, right? Where with the original Kenobi, Alec did not have quite the legacy to our generation, especially that Harrison Ford did. We've seen Harrison Ford in other movies, other projects, Indiana Jones. Like he's kind of like Robert Downey Jr., where his persona is bigger than Star Wars, right? So it's so hard to recast him specifically that maybe this is more of an isolated incident. Maybe this is really like, hey, Han Solo is really hard to recast. Kenobi was only in a small segment of the original trilogy, right? Very small screen time. In fact, Ewan McGregor has had more screen time as Kenobi than the original. And so to a lot of us, this group, me and you especially, he's our Kenobi. Not discrediting the original, it's just that's who we've spent more time with in our lives. And so maybe this is a case of where we're subjective, we're maybe very selective on who we recast. Because on the flip side, I think everyone unanimously loved Donald Glover as Lando. There just isn't that same, so you know what I mean? Like, it's so funny how that perception has changed. And here's where I want to there's a lot of fans freaking out about like, I can't believe Kathleen Kennedy said that. Can I maybe can I be a Disney shield? Can I defend her? There's a Lando show coming. She's not saying we can't recast anymore. I think the writer, if you read the quote, the writer's putting a lot of his kind of own thoughts and taking her quote. And Eckhart's Ladder called this out as well in his breakdown, where she wasn't saying like we can't recast. She was specifically talking about like Harrison Ford was really hard to recast. Maybe we made a mistake there in like knowing that fans might not gravitate towards him as well. I think that's reasonable to evaluate, how you handle actors. And so I don't know if that makes sense to you, Jimmy. If like maybe it's like certain times it makes more sense to recast than others.
No, I definitely agree with that, and because that was like the biggest argument I saw. Because from the initial quote alone, it does sound like she's blaming the failure of Solo on the fact that they recast it, which I just don't. I don't even think if that's what she actually meant. I don't think she believes that, because I mean, like it had a number of problems. You know, they had script changes, director changes. For some reason, they put it out in May instead of December, and you know that was probably a test route. What happens if we put it out in May? No, it tanks. But the movie, it was fun. You know, it didn't have to be extremely serious. Sure, it ties into the story, but it was just a fun movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to say, you know, that Alden Ehrenreich is a bad Han Solo when he put everything he had into that character, into trying to, you know, when I say bring new life, and it was like, give us that young Han Solo that we haven't seen. You know, we've seen him in the original trilogy and now in the sequel trilogy. We don't have the young, able to do everything Han Solo. So getting that portrayal was just fantastic. And even like, you know, he worked so hard to get that role. It literally took him to the point where he was in costume and had filmed several scenes to the point where he realized he was no longer auditioning for that role. So, and so you want to talk about, you know, if we're really going to take that quote from Kathleen to heart, if that's the case, then Ewan McGregor should not be Obi-Wan.
Yeah. And that's why I think, and you and I agree here, I think that quote is kind of being misrepresented a little bit. Even if I think she could have said it better in a way that it could have better protected the actors who did a great job. You know,
now I was gonna say, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I will say, like, to your point, that does not mean that Alden got like praise for it at all. Like, he got a lot of backlash for it. And I was one of my favorite comments that I ever saw was after the premiere of Solo, I saw one tweet that went viral for a while, and it was just someone that came out of Solo and said, "You all owe Alden Ehrenreich an apology," because everyone was so worried about it, and he did everything he could to make himself Han Solo, and I think it paid off. So much so to the point where, like, I understand he's playing Han Solo, but he could be playing a completely new character, and I would still enjoy what he was doing.
Well, and I felt watching that movie that almost would have been a better move. Like, make it a new group, because I think so many fans were like you called out in your argument. So many fans were upset by Luke that they were immediately like, "Oh no, I'm not going to accept this new Han Solo." Because, you know, do you know the truth about Solo? It's not that people don't like it. It's that people never gave it a chance and didn't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. I have never actually heard very many people, like, personally, this is anecdotal, who've said, I didn't like Solo. But I've heard a lot of them say, I've never seen Solo.
And that's why I make that argument to the point where, like, you know, we have the deepfake technology that we got in Rogue One, and everyone was like, I don't like it, but I understand why they did it. This is weird. It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And you have a portrayal of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi that a lot of people dislike. So when he shows up in The Mandalorian Season 2, you know, being the true form of Luke Skywalker that, you know, everyone grew up loving, Luke in his prime, destroying the Dark Troopers and rescuing Grogu and everyone else involved, suddenly they love it.
Well, and for me, I think maybe the best way to look at it is Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, is the best use case for deepfake. He loves the idea. He loves the character. He wants to see more of it. Mark also has an extensive history of voice performances and you know, stage performances. So he is so, like, widespread talent-wise for acting and performance that I think, you know, it just makes so much sense for him to be on board with this. You know, he's like the perfect
he has played more Star Wars characters than people actually realize.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the cool part. He does so many little cameos.
It's true. Well, let's put some closing thoughts here. I would say I absolutely think that both can make sense in specific scenarios. I love the fact that deepfake has gotten so much better, and they've done some really cool things with Luke. And I also have enjoyed the recasting of younger actors. Of course, Ewan McGregor. And like we just talked about, I enjoyed the Solo young cast. I had no problems with them. And so I am fully supportive of both of them being used in the future of Star Wars.
And I'm on the same page. Like, I'm cool with both, like, wholeheartedly. Like, it doesn't really bother me either way. And I think in the case, you know, for Luke Skywalker, because Mark Hamill wants it so bad, I definitely think, you know, yeah, absolutely, let him do that. Because, you know, like, we've even seen it, you know, the behind the scenes for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
Yep.
They literally let him go through
Mm-hmm.
and film the scenes himself to, obviously for him to relive that, but also to show off the mannerisms of Luke, and then let the stunt double come in and do that, and then have the face mapped onto it.
Yep.
So if I want to stick with the argument of no deepfake, it's going to be very hard, but I'm going to need everyone on the jury on my side so I can pay my unpaid intern.
Let us know. Get a joke here. Let us know down below, guys. I'm sure some of you guys are gonna have some very passionate thoughts that maybe we don't. I know Ben, for example, our buddy from Star Wars Timeline, is very big on the recast young actors. He much prefers that to deepfake, and I'm sure some of you guys agree. We'd love to hear it down below. Thanks for checking out this new format. It's something I think we want to do sometimes because, we love talking about current events, and I think it's in better spirits to have these kind of conversations with friends than to make really one-sided videos one way or the other. I just think it's more fun, and Jimmy and I being, partners in this, that we're comfortable kind of playing that role and having those conversations. So we'd love to hear your thoughts.
And I think, like my last thought before we close this out is, I think this is an important thing to do because from this, depending on what side we take, because really sometimes we may just flip a coin for it, it kind of helps, if we both get the alternate side of what we personally think, it might help us to understand where those fans are coming from, understand why they prefer one over the other. And so we can kind of get the mindset and then go at it as we did and have this little battle, but do it in a respectful way where we can discuss it in all its aspects without, name calling or just saying you're dumb for liking something.
Yep. Agreed. Well, let us know, guys, down below. We appreciate your support. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Give us your feedback and get ready because next week it's Star Wars Celebration. It's Kenobi. It is big times in May. May is officially Star Wars month going forward for now on, and I'm loving it. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. We'll see you again very soon.
Court is adjourned.